All right. Hey, thanks for joining us again on the Gill Athletics Connections podcast. Going to have a real good one here. I have my good friend, Matt Esche, the head cross-country coach, assistant track coach at one of my favorite places in the whole world. I'm from Alabama, so I get to say that. University of Alabama-Birmingham. Matt, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Mike, I'm honored. You've had some phenomenal guests. You've done an outstanding job with this podcast. So just to be be on the same podcast with some of the Olympians and some of the people that have coached, oh man, I'm excited.
Well, in full disclosure, I did have your boss on first. I had Kurt Thomas on before I had you on there. So it's going to be a real contest on who gets the most views, most listens, you or Kurt. Now, Kurt, he's already out there. So if you're listening right now and you really want to know more about UAB, you're about to learn a lot right here. But also the head track and field coach, Kurt Thomas, was episode maybe 5 or 6. We caught him up in Boston University this early winter, February, and had a good time as a former GA for us at Mississippi State. I had just a blast with Kurt. Matt, you are joining us from, I'm a little bit envious. You're joining us from one of the breweries there in Birmingham. One of my favorites. Kurt's actually taken me there. Appreciate you letting us in on your private time, your kickback time.
Every once in a while, I think in this time of quarantine, and trust me, following social distancing rules, you need to have a beer, you need to go find a place to work, and you actually need to clear your head because we can all get cooped up too much in the house with everything going on. And as much as being outside is nice, with the family is nice, you need time away.
Well, I can attest, you're listening to us right now, but I'm seeing Matt during this interview, and he's practicing his social distancing. There is no one around Matt at all. And for someone who is a cross-country coach, you're used to gaggles of people, 5 to 10 kids running. So I'm proud of you for being by yourself, Matt.
I appreciate that.
Well, let's start off.
I'll make sure the podcast comes up a little bit. I know Kurt set the bar, but I'll try to bring it up a little higher.
Exactly right. Exactly. So let's go back. Let's get in our Wayback Machine here, and let's talk about where you're from. When did you start running track and obviously distance? And let's go from there. So where are you from originally?
Quick thing, I'm from Waukesha, Wisconsin, the great state of Wisconsin, as I always say. We are Waukesha West High School, 20 minutes outside of Milwaukee, about 25 minutes west from Lake Michigan. So grew up with my sister and I both ended up at the University of Iowa. But I ended up running in 6th grade. I started running 5th grade, kind of did the I think what they had, the elementary school mile, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And in Wisconsin, you go 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and then 7th and 8th grade is middle school. So you had the mile in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. And I remember coming home one day in 4th grade and your 5th grade. I can't remember what it was. One of my friends looks at me and goes, "Matt, you have endurance." I'm in 4th grade. I don't know 5th grade ever. I don't know the word endurance. It's a little high above my vocabulary. It probably still is. And so we actually, I told my dad, he's like, "You have a big engine." I'm like, well, I still don't know what that means. So to make a long story short, started running in 6th grade. 7th and 8th grade, I had some decent success in middle school. And then I ended up going to Waukesha West High School. My first year, I was wonderfully coached. I had an interesting, year. And many people have seen my tattoo on my legs. It says Hoka Hey. And my freshman year, my conference meet, our first coach, Anthony Brolick, was at a conference meet, and we were up at the top of the hill. Coach was watching at the bottom of the hill, the JV runners go by, and actually ended up having a heart attack. And we had no idea. And so we ended up having, what was it? Our track coach, I remember running up the hill at Nagawaki Park. It's in Delsman, Wisconsin, and he literally ran past us, grabbed us, and took us the other way. And he was influential ever since. And so come to find out, Coach ended up passing away that day because of a heart attack. And the worst part about it was he made sure of it, and this kind of instilled some things more if I thought about it in my coaching world, but he put himself in front of us because he was supposed to have a pacemaker put in, and he was going to wait till the state meet. In Wisconsin, you go conference, sectional, state, okay? 2 days after the state meet. So we're talking probably 17 days away from a pacemaker put in, and he just couldn't make it. So we ran the conference meet, made the state meet, and did all that kind of stuff. But that was my first, that was it. And then my sophomore year was really, in high school, was really when things took off. I coached Al Sapa who's one of my mentors today, did a reading at my wedding. It's my wife and I's wedding. One of my favorite people, Don Zarapata, was another coach. They coached for probably combined 60 years in the state of Wisconsin before they retired, if not more. And then actually, the gentleman who was my other high school coach is Sean Teelitz. Sean actually ends up being the coach at Carroll University in Waukesha, Wisconsin, former Bear Blue High School alum, and the guy right there. So he's a tremendous gentleman as well.
Sean was your high school coach?
Sean was one of my 3 high school coaches, yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yep.
First of all, you know, they say what a small world. What a small world. Holy cow,
Yeah.
man. That's really cool. I respect Sean a lot. He is such a good guy. We had one of his she's going to be his assistant coach starting this fall earlier in the year, Nicole Farr-Kramer, and just speaks highly of Sean, and I couldn't agree more. So that's really cool. Having a little problem with your audio. I don't know if it's when you back up or something like that, but you kind of go a little faint on us. So we'll just keep working on getting that a little better. So when you started 4th grade and 5th grade and then running all the way up through high school, was it something, even though, you know, your friends and your dad said you had a big engine and you had a lot of endurance, did it come naturally, distance running, or was it something you struggled and you had to really kind of overcome and work hard to become better?
No, excuse me, didn't try and microphone check that right there. No, it was one of those things where a light switch kind of went on. I think the best way to put it. So I remember this clear today, and I don't know why I did. Freshman year went well. Believe it or not, I got to say, freshman year was hilarious because in Wisconsin, your first race as a freshman is 4K. Okay, freshman boy, you run a 4K. And back then, they ran 4K for men, or for the boys, freshmen, and then for women, they also ran that, or girls. Now they all run 5K. But I remember my first race, first high school race, Menominee Falls Rotary Park Invitational. And we walked the course. Our coach had said, hey, go to the right. This is where 4K boys go for freshmen. Everybody else goes straight, okay? My teammates and I actually ran past it because the people that were manning the stop didn't think that we were going to be that far ahead. The 3 that far ahead. And the rest is not history yet because there's a member, Brolick, the week before the conference meet, finally put me on varsity that week. It took me a little bit, and he saw a couple of my other teammates and people that, you know, freshmen that should get there, and they absolutely deserved it. There's no question. I wouldn't even question it today. But my sophomore year, I remember we were driving my mom was taking me to the bus. It was Middleton High School that we were going to go to. I was driving to the bus, Middleton up Madison. Okay. And they looked at me and she goes, are you sick and tired of losing to Danny and Billy? And that's all it was. It wasn't a script. It was, are you sick and tired of losing to Danny and Billy? Because I had lost them. You know, I was still in varsity, still top 6. Didn't matter what it was, but I lost them underneath. I never lost again. And I never lost in college to him. I raced them both in college a couple times at Iowa. And I never lost to him again. And it was something, and whenever my mom said a switch hit, and nope, goodbye from there.
That's what I was going to ask. Something like changed in you right then.
Yep. And it was then, I will also say I started to grow, but I didn't start to grow until the end of my sophomore year into my junior year. And that's when things exploded for me. So I was very blessed there. I ran well my sophomore year. I remember Teelitz to this day. I'm going to knock him a little bit here for the fun of it. I made the state meet, and the section meet I made one gutsy race, but the state meet I made, and I'm at the state meet, we're about 5 hours out. This is before you really care about what you eat. Like, because most of the time you ask the old guys in the 60s, 70s, 80s, throw a raw steak in front of them or throw some greasy stuff in, and they're fine. 5 hours before the 2 mile, Teelitz comes up to me and he goes, are you hungry? I was like, yeah, man, I'm hungry. He's like, let's go get some lunch. Okay. I don't know if they're still around, but Rocky Rococo's Pizza was on the other side of the track stadium at UW La Crosse. So we walked over to the stadium, had a Rocky Rococo's Pizza, a slice of pizza or two. I needed the breadsticks because I figured, you know what, that might be too much. The pizza is fine, but that's
too much.
Yeah, but the pizza wasn't. So I had 2 slices of pizza, and I didn't do the breadsticks, and I did water. Okay. I do remember this. Lap 6 of that 2 mile. Oh shit. I feel that in my stomach. And I got done. I was blessed enough to run the school record at the time by 0.3. Teelitz was beside himself, and I looked at him and I go, I am not eating that crap again. So after that took off, I was kind of driven. I knew I could do this. I absolutely knew I could do this and everything was going to go well. So then, yeah, I was blessed enough to have a phenomenal junior and senior year and kind of go from there.
Were you more of a miler type distance runner or 2-miler and then 5K for cross?
You know, it was a 5K for cross, and then the mile, I never ran it much. My whole junior year, I never ran 1 mile. I ran all 2 miles, not an 800, no nothing. And then my senior year, I ended up running 156 in the 800 and beat one of my friends who was an 800 guy by trade, and I just beat him. And I'm like, I don't know. I just was told to run the 8, so that's what I did. And so I didn't have to run the mile much or the 800 because unless it was a relay, because my teammates, Danny and Billy, let's give Danny and Billy credit. Billy was a 9-10 steeplechaser at lacrosse, and Danny was a state champion 800-meter runner, and I don't think he was an All-American, but he may be an All-American DMR at lacrosse as well. They had some great careers at UW lacrosse. We just never ended up having to race each other because we were just that good that we had a very, it wasn't a deep team, but it's a very even team. We had a 4x8 that went 747. We had a 4x4 that went 316. We had 2 vaulters that were going 14.6.
Wow.
Had I think we had 4 guys between at that time 416 and 418, and you had 2 milers there was 4 of us under 952, all on the same team, and it was honestly all from the cross country. Even the vaulters were from cross country.
Hey, don't say that out loud. We'll lose our entire pole vault audience right there. They do not want to hear that at all.
Yeah.
I can tell you're not from Alabama, and the reason I say that is you didn't run very many miles. You said you ran 0 your junior year. In Alabama, I guarantee you would have ran the 2-mile, the mile, the half-mile, and the 4x8 at every meet. And the reason I know that is because I grew up in Alabama. Your mile PR would have been my half-mile PR, and I still had to run every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday the 2-mile, the mile, the 4x8, the 8, and then every once in a while the 4x4. And it's not like I was good, like they counted on me. It's just that's the way it was, man. So what did you end up? What did end up being your 2-mile PR through high school? And that obviously you had some options for colleges and ended up going to a great one that affected your life in a lot of positive ways.
Yeah, amazingly enough, and that's interesting as well. I probably turned down the best coach in the country too. Honestly, I'll get there in a second. I would argue the best coach in the country. So my junior year, I was lucky enough to win the state title, and I ran away with it by about 20 seconds, and that was fun. I got injured my junior year outdoors. The senior year came back, and I lost to a guy some people may have heard of. I don't know if anybody has, but a Spash High School. His name is Chris Zielinski. Yeah. There's a lot of backstory there, but we won't go into it.
I can't believe you lost to that guy.
Yeah, that guy. Apparently he did something like 26:59, 150. Yeah, I mean, no. So that was lucky enough. Amazingly enough, one of the funny things that year, my senior year, was that I finished 7th at the Foot Locker Midwest Regional. Went to Foot Locker, finished 15th. It was an All-American. And
wow.
Yep. And Dan Hout, Dan. I can't think of his last name now. But oddly enough, the state runners in Illinois, okay, the state runner up in Illinois and the state runner up in Wisconsin, being me that year, we both made Foot Locker Nationals. Where Dan Hout, who ends up being my teammate at Iowa, and Chris Zielinski, who ends up, who won the state title, they finished 9th and 10th. In today's world, 9 and 10 would have made nationals. That world, they only took 8. So I finished 7th, he finished 8th, and we went to nationals. Or he may have finished 6th, actually. I think he finished 6th because a guy that went to Michigan ended up finishing 8th. And so we got there, and I was blessed enough in a day of social media where things weren't as big. I didn't know why I wasn't being recruited right away in August or September, and I'm like, you know what, screw it, I'm just going to go run because what else can I control? I was blessed. I was able to be recruited by 6 or 7 big-time programs, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, Georgia, Kansas State. I had a conversation with Coach Drake. Let's not get past the green. Don't want to knock him. He was a phenomenal gentleman. And so, but I ended up choosing the University of Iowa. And going back to something I touched on, the one coach I ended up turning down was Jerry Schumacher at the University of Wisconsin at the time. And Schumacher grew up 2 blocks away from me. He went to Waukesha Catholic Memorial High School. I went to Waukesha West. So honestly, at that time, bitter rivals. It was the parochial school, but we were bitter rivals and did not like Memorial. They were in a conference. They were in everything. And so we went there, and it wasn't Jerry didn't do anything wrong. I could, he didn't do anything wrong. It was the idea to build a program and the idea that was sold on it. I remember sitting in when I was on my visit to Iowa, actually. Bill Newman, who's a Big Ten champ in javelin, I think 3-time Big Ten champ. He also had the Big Ten record at one time as well. He's Kappa's legend. But I remember sitting in the dorm room, and my host actually at the time, Dan Jr., left. I don't know what he was doing, probably knowing him chasing tail somewhere. And he left me for about a half hour, 40 minutes. And Newman came in and goes, "So who are you?" And I explained. So he's like, "Hey, Foot Locker." That's all he knew. And I was like, "Yeah, Foot Locker. We all American." "Yeah." "Why the hell aren't you coming to Iowa?" It's like, okay, kind of a little front, and a little. But I was like, all right. He left, but 2 minutes later, my host comes in, and I was like, okay. And in just back of my mind, I'm like, I'm going to Iowa. I don't know why, but I remember hearing about later. You felt comfortable at Iowa, and I knew one thing. Don Zarapata, and I mentioned Zarapata earlier with Sapa, Zarapata, and Teelitz. Zarapata had actually gotten a call from Wiz, Coach Larry Wieczorek, the legendary Coach Wieczorek, and he said, this is. He said, he didn't say about this about anybody else. And I didn't think about it at the time. I honestly didn't. He didn't say about this Wisconsin or Nebraska or Placentia or Minnesota or anybody else. He goes, if you want to go to Iowa, I would be 100% happy with you going to Iowa. And he said it to me at school. I was amazed by it. I was like, okay, I didn't even think about Iowa being on the list because Iowa hadn't even contacted me yet. And the next day I got a call from Iowa. And, of course, I ended up there. But Wiz sold to me a couple things that he embodied that was taking care of your athletes. Taking care of people. He, to this day, we still talk on probably a monthly basis, if not every 3-week basis. We shoot the shit about what's right with cross country, what's wrong with it. I'm fighting the same battles that they did back then that all coaches are right now. Doesn't matter if they're, the senior members or the young ones that are 24, 25. We all are fighting the exact same battles that we did before. And so he taught me a lot of that kind of stuff, but he instilled a family. And for me, it was a big deal because here I am, a kid that had never – I'm going to Iowa, and I could have gone to Wisconsin at 10 Big Ten championship rings. My fingers right. Absolutely could have had. Those teams are incredible. Ed Nutcomb and him, those guys were just simply amazing. Now, we didn't do that great, let's be honest. I mean, our track teams didn't do that great. Our cross teams did very well, but our track teams just didn't do that great. But then he sold me like, hey, if you come to Iowa, I need you to help me build a program. And so oddly enough, Dan Howe was the guy that I ended up having to call a couple times to talk to. Dan Glass was the guy. There he is. Sorry about that, the cleaning stuff. Dan Glass was the guy from Illinois that I tried to get. He ended up going to Ohio State for more money. Never make a decision to get money unless you have to. But so we ended up building a very, very talented kids class at Iowa. That was exciting, and it was great to be a part of that. But Wiz said, made sure that we as people were taken care of. We as my family were taken care of. And he jokes to this day, if you called him up and asked a question, he believes he was still recruiting my sister because if he couldn't get a hold of me, because she called the house phone, the cell phone, he called the house phone, he was talking to my sister, making sure and checking in on her and making sure she was happy. And she ran as well. So that was above and beyond anything else. And the main reason Wisconsin, honestly, I didn't grow up a Wisconsin fan. We had one little Rose Bowl ornament back from when they made the Rose Bowl when I was growing up. We didn't go to Wisconsin games. We didn't travel to Madison for games. I went to one football game. Oddly enough, the one football game I remember going to, Iowa beat Wisconsin, and we beat them 13-10, all on field goals. Yeah, they don't ask me, or 12-10, whatever it was. I think it was 12-10. It was all on field goals. And I don't know what happened, but that was kind of it. Growing up, I loved Marquette even better. But my dad and I had been to Marquette versus Cincinnati, Marquette versus the Big East games. Like that was the ticket. You kidding me? Go to a Wisconsin game? That was okay. But back then, Marquette and the Big, oh my goodness, that was fun. Plus, I mean, they were founding members of the Conference USA back at the time.
So, as a new high school program, you had to build up a program and did real well. And then sounds like the ideal of going to Iowa and help building up that distance and cross country program was kind of something that was on your heart to do. Like that was kind of your goal setting. And you probably didn't express it that way back then because you were a 18-year-old kid. Let's be real. But now looking back, that's kind of something that stoked your fire, so to speak?
Yeah, and that became near and dear to my heart for some reason. I don't know what. I mean, remember again, the high school, we made 4 straight state championships, and it was cool to build something. And I was really disappointed. I'm actually disappointed they haven't been to state championship since we left, which I'm still livid about quietly. Iowa, the same thing, hadn't been to the championships since '99 when Stetson Steele was an All-American. And then before that was '67 when Wieczorek was there, and he was a Big Ten champ and still the record holder for the 4 mile and the 2 mile in the Big Ten conference, if I'm not mistaken. He was a phenomenal athlete. But then, so going to Iowa, being able to build a program there, it did actually really resonate with me on moving along to my quick year at Nichols with Scott Williamson, who's now the multis coach at Nevada, a phenomenal coach out there, one of the most underrated coaches I know. But he brought me in down there, and we quickly turned around. We finished 12th or 13th, 11, 12 for years in a row there in the 6th. And then when I got a call to go to Bernsey over at Bradley, that's a hilarious story how I got there, but at the same time, when Bernsey called me to go to Bradley, I was actually on my honeymoon, believe it or not. He did. Time you call your mom and say, hey, I might have a job offer, and they go, why the hell are you calling me on your honeymoon? I said, well, just to let you know, I got turned down for 4 jobs, and Burns called. So there's a good reason why I just called. But going there, and he sold me on exactly that. Come here, build a program, be the distance recruiter, and take care of me. Sorry, Bernsey, I got to actually clarify. Mark Burns at the University of Missouri, the great coach with Chris Schweitzer, he's done a tremendous job at the zoo. And so that guy really helped teach me about family and what I know and how to do things the right way and how to take care of people. That's some of the biggest things we forget about. So we had to build a program up there, and I think the biggest things that the two of us were able to accomplish, and actually us staff were able to accomplish, wasn't just leaving the program so in a perfect position, or not perfect, but a very good position for Coach Goss and Coach Siltz up there, who've done a great job with the Bradley program. But it was bringing in, I want to say, when I arrived, we had women's cross country, track and field, indoors and outdoors, and we had men's cross country. I was promised we would bring men's track and field back. In today's world of cuts, and today, we had another program get cut, it doesn't happen. Brad turned around within 18 months, and I got to give Dr. Mike Cross up at Penn State a lot of credit. Our AD at the time, he believed in the vision and helped us out. Craig Dahlquist as well. They both believed in the vision of bringing it, and so they brought outdoor track back within 18 months, and they promised they would. And then to bring indoors back the next year was even more historic. So it flew under the radar. Nobody knew about it. But that was the biggest thing that I think we did, other than changing the culture there, because they were a wet sponge. They needed something, but that was the biggest thing that they could have done.
Yeah, growth is good. So anytime we can add programs out there, it's just better for our entire sport. And as you mentioned, today we got more bad news as Brown University moves their men's track and cross country program to the club level. So they'll stop participating and coaching at the NCAA Ivy League level and go to the club championship level there for their men's program. Women's program was not mentioned, so it seems like that'll still stay as a varsity NCAA sport. So let's start pivoting to that thought process there, Matt, about building a program. This fall will be your 6th year at UAB. Talk to us about building a program, and you're not building from zero. You had athletes when you got there. You had at least one athlete there. But what's it take in regards to what kind of athletes do you look for? What kind of culture do you bring? How does that go into recruiting, travel, etc.?
I think it's an interesting process. It depends on which way you look at it. I kind of look at it as a house. You're building a house, okay? If that makes sense. So why do you build a house? When you normally build a house, you dive into the first thing the first thing you want to do is you want to go down to bedrock. When you build it all the way down, people don't build houses on sand, because if you build a house on sand and just in the sand, you falter. It's going to fall apart, and that's essentially what the 3 little pigs did. They built their first couple houses, maybe on sticks, but those were in the sand. Then those got blown over. And the last one was built on, with bricks and actually solidified, what's that called? A solidified base, essentially bedrock, all that kind of stuff. And that's what it is. And so when I arrived here, we had 6 girls on the roster. Okay. And one of them got injured in the fall or in the summer. And that was her own doing. She would admit that to her day, so I can say that 100%. I won't say anything I can't say. And so she would admit that. And we didn't have a freshman recruiting class, so we had to start over. And so the girls had to buy in right away. And they did buy in right away. But then the issue was that the next year's class was being recruited by juniors and seniors. So they're years older. So now you have 17-year-olds being recruited by 21, 22, 23-year-olds. That's an issue. So what I had to do was make sure, first and foremost, those girls I was coming in with, and that's what I did in my interview itself, was make sure they were rooted in what we were doing and what did they want. Were their roots, sand deep? Were they topsoil? Some people just throw topsoil on it and say, you know what, that's good enough. Or were they bedrock? Most of the girls were topsoil, a little bit bedrock, but they were leery of me, and who wouldn't be? It's a new coach, knew everything and the way things go. So when I came in and built, had to find some pillars that were going to build this house as best we could. And we looked at each one of the pillars of the house, and each one has its own meaning and its own way of doing things. Is this going to help us in the 800 and 1500? Is this going to help us in the 1500 cross country? Where is this going to help us out in? And that was the biggest thing that we started doing, is looking at kids and getting as many kids in as possible. The easier thing to do a little bit when building a program is to build a cross country roster, because you can get more kids, you can get walk-on kids, you can get not even just walk-on kids, but you can get kids that want to come to the school and want to run and want an opportunity to run and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Like, okay, cool, I'll run 50 miles a week, 60 miles a week, because they love what they're doing. It's a little easier than a track and field team, because you don't have to do the sprints and jumps and throws. Cross-country runners tend to be very minimalistic, and they just like, you know what, give me a pair of shoes, give me a place to train, and let's go. That was one of the best things with Bradley. We didn't have a track, and it didn't matter whatsoever. And so when we got to UAB, though, we started putting pillars together. We started putting posts in together. And I could tell, I think every coach could tell if they took a good hard look at their program, which pillars are built into the bedrock, which ones are built on sand, and which ones are built into the topsoil. If you look at all three of those things. I've got kids right now that most of them are into at least topsoil. There's a lot that are in bedrock. And my first couple of years, we were more in topsoil and sand. There's a couple that are in bedrock, and that's allowed us to have one or two that we have right now, or girls on campus right now. But a lot were in the topsoil or the sand because they just didn't know what they were doing, graduated out, all that kind of stuff happened. So you're looking for kids that understand that building a program is not easy. But it's something, if you can put it together, is going to be really, really special and really exciting. You're looking for the right fit. The great thing about UAB is that we have the best, or one of the top 5 medical schools in the country. Whether you're going into nursing, PA, PT, you want to go into health professions, any of those kind of programs, you're going to find it here. You want a top 150 program or top 100 program when it comes to engineering and education, you're here. I mean, the school itself is top 120 in the nation in everything that we do. And honestly, cost-wise, we're cheap. Let's be honest. I'm going to plug that for a second. We're only $30,000 to come to school. Like, that's not bad at all for an out-of-state kid. You kidding me? $20,000 in state, roughly? That's not bad. And so, but we took a look at what kind of kids would fit what we need. And I think cross-country was the first thing we did. So we tried to get, honestly, my first year, couple of years, I just tried to get the best distance runners I could find. I said, let's build it from there. Once I got a couple stable cores of, we even had, not stores of distance runners, but at least 1,500, 800 kids. We had some girls that were miler, 2 milers. We have a miler, 5Ks, that kind of type in between. Once we got those kids set into a pattern, then we could go in specifically. In the last couple of years, we've gone from being the what's it called, the Jason Bourne type. I think I like this actually. The Jason Bourne type, where you going up and down the buildings and you're shooting up the whole damn thing. You shoot everything up, boom, 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 everything's going everywhere. And then all of a sudden you get like the James Bond, where it's like, bam, there's your shot, you're done, got it. And that's kind of the last couple of years we've been able to do, because we've had such a talented team here at UAB that's like, all right, we don't have to go Jason Bourne. We can go James Bond and say, boom, we got everybody that way. But again, it's taken a while, because some of those pillars that we thought were maybe rooted in topsoil, they're insane. And they, whether they got dismissed from the team, whether they quit the team themselves, whether they did something along those lines, that happens. It happens to every program, but especially when you're building and trying to change a culture and the way things are expected. And even sometimes when people graduate, the last couple of years, some people graduate that are honestly said they were bedrock, but absolutely were sand. And that happens. And so this couple of years this next couple of years is going to be really, really exciting here at UAB. There's no questions about it.
How do you, when you're building that, you mentioned that word culture, which is absolutely there's no doubt about it. It's important. We just had Judd Logan on the podcast a few episodes ago where we talked just about culture and things like that, which has quickly become our #1 podcast, by the way. It has shot up as the most listens to than anyone out there. I think that really shows the importance of culture as it fits around track and field. So as you're building culture and you have such a young team and such a small roster, that kind of brings to mind that as you're bringing recruits in, that means you possibly are having to rely on a freshman or a redshirt freshman to be a leader. So you're talking about a 17, 18, maybe 19-year-old individual that has to be the leader of 21, 22-year-old people on the team. Does that cause problems, or is that actually a benefit because it's kind of a new perspective?
It doesn't cause problems for me. It may cause problems, some extra tits and tats between the girls. Freshmen. So if we go back real quick, first year here, didn't have to worry about a thing. I could be myself. I could swear every once in a while, have fun, and didn't worry about it. I'm a sarcastic ass. Okay, if you come to UAB and you run for me, I'm a smart ass, but I love to have fun. But when we come to work, dude, your ass is working. And when we do that, so first year I didn't have to worry about a thing. And second year, when we brought the kids in, I kind of have to be. I was myself and realized I couldn't be myself. I had to change things. Some of the kids weren't. Some of the girls, young women, weren't used to that kind of a thing. And so the last couple of years, last year actually, what I did was, and I planned this out. I talked with some very good friends and some mentors I had, and planned out having captains for the first time. And some people will say go captains. Some people say absolutely not. I don't like captains. But I thought that captains was the best way to go about this and to help push our culture forward. And the reason was, honestly, flat out, bluntly, I'm very honest about our program. You can ask me any day of the week. I didn't feel like the year before we had any leadership. And it happened, we went to the indoor conference meet, which we host every single year. We take a lot of pride in that. And man, do we lay the biggest effing egg I've ever seen. And I looked at my distance girls and said, this is it. We're done. You guys outdoors are going to be rough. You guys got 3 months. Somebody show me who wants to be a captain. And that's what it was. And I took the 3 people that showed me they wanted to be a captain. You'd have to come tell me. Don't you tell me you want to be a captain. That's good night. See you later. Bye-bye. Doesn't matter to me. Show me you can be a captain. You can be a leader. You're going to fill in your log. You're going to show up on time. You're going to do everything possible from there. And show me you have the trust of what's going on. And so what I did was, and again, I named a senior captain, I named a junior captain, and then I named a sophomore captain. Just ended up being that way. But the sophomore ruffled some feathers. There's no questions about that. I remember I was talking to our women's basketball coach, Randy Norton, one of the greatest gentlemen I've ever met. And he said Deanna Kuzmanic, who was one of UAB's greatest basketball players, was named a captain as a freshman. I mean, can you imagine that? Your first day on campus, you're the captain of the team. You imagine how much you're going to get? Holy jeez Louise. But so we named them, and each one, the one thing we always had to remind everybody is each one of the captains is they don't have their own separate roles. They're all a three-headed monster, but they don't have their separate roles, whether that be filtering some of the BS so I don't have to deal with it, whether that be being the hard nose at practice saying, why aren't you guys doing X, Y, or Z? Hey, we should be stretching. Let's go. Why aren't you doing this? Let's go. One girl doesn't deal with that at all. She does her own stuff at practice, like when she's warming up, and then she's good to go. There's a couple of girls that will get on you very quickly. And there's a couple of girls, one of the girls that's more of a mom figure to the talent team. But it works out so they all balance each other out. So we had to find some individuals that did that. And then when we sat down and talked about things, what I want to do, they have embraced it. And one of them constantly on a weekly basis will say, Coach, the only reason I'm doing this and questioning you is because you said I could question you, and that's what I'm doing to make sure that we're on the page. And I said, no, that's completely fine. That's fine. I asked you to question me, so let's go ahead and do this. And ever since we have the captains this fall, they were very hesitant this fall. And then when it came to cross-country season, we had the worst cross-country season to start the year that we. Oh my goodness, I should have been fired. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't a coaching job; it was the girls. I think Judd said it best. I'm not a great coach. None of us are great coaches. We are absolutely, we're just ordinary people that know how to push buttons every once in a while. And sometimes the girls need to push the buttons. Sometimes the men need to push the buttons. They know what buttons to push. They came to me and my captains and said, this is what we need to do. I said, fine, I'll trust you on it. And it's went against every grain that I knew, went against every philosophical thing I did. But they said, this is what we need to do. We did it. We turned the season around in a heartbeat.
Are you comfortable sharing what that might have been?
Yeah. Actually, I don't know.
Hey, thanks for that brutal honesty. I like that. That actually says a lot about you positively, Matt.
No, we honestly, and this is the true story. We finished. Good night. We went to Memphis this year. We finished 6th or 5th, I think it was. And I figured I figured we had a good day. We've been 3rd, 4th, but we finished. On a bad day, average day, we've been about 6th. We were average. A bad day would have been like 9th or 10th. Like we don't fit that meet. We don't, and I love that meet. Our girls love that meet. Christian Brothers, can't remember the gentleman's name now for life of me. Bill, whatever his name is, that puts the meet on. Great job. I got to give him credit there. We're gonna go back this year. But when we went to Vanderbilt, we finished 2nd to last. I was like, dude, this is really bad. Like, and to give you perspective for you coach listening, we didn't break, I think, 23-30 for 6th. Okay, we were bad. I remember there's a couple teams up there that finished 10th and 11th. I won't name names in the teams, but they finished 10th and 11th in that meet. I'll come back to that in a second. We then went to Mizzou. Again, we were helping Coach Burns up in Mizzou open up the Gaines Creek cross country course, one of the most beautiful courses I've seen in the country. They have done a top-notch job there. Oh my goodness, that thing is incredible. We finished DFL.
Oh.
And it's a hard pill to swallow when you tell your administration you feel DFL, and your administrator is looking at you going, how did you do that when you just spent X amount of dollars? And I'm going, that's a great question. But I looked at the girls afterwards. I couldn't even be upset because I didn't know what to do. I honestly couldn't. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. If you know me, I don't scream, yell, cuss at my kids. I refuse to. I'll get after them, but I'm never going to cuss at them. I might look at them and be like, what the hell are we doing, guys? And that's what I did. Like, what the hell are we doing? We just traveled all the way up here. And I had a feeling this was going to happen in the weight room on Tuesday. I looked at my captains and said, this better not happen because I got a feeling this is going to happen. And it's exactly what happened. And they looked at us and just said, I don't know, Coach, we'll figure it out. And I said, okay. I said, somebody's got to figure this out because I have a long flight back. And Monday morning with my administrator, this is not going to go over well. And he wasn't, luckily enough, my administrator was not screaming or yelling. He was more like, how does that happen? I said, just give me 3 weeks. That's my home meet is. We'll be fine. That's all I said. I still have my tail between my legs. I still do. And my girls came to me after the meet and said, we just want to talk to our sports psychologist, Meg Smith. And Meg works with the U.S. Olympic team, the para-rugby team, the para-basketball team for U.S. Olympics. She's worked with the Army. She works with the Army, the Navy, all of our branches of the military. Wow. And Alabama's Olympic rugby, the University of Alabama's rugby team, basketball team as well, Paralympic basketball team. So she works with a lot. I made one phone call, explained what happened. She said, I got you. You never tell me what happens. Keeps it confidential. The girls did it. We ended up doing, believe it or not, some 1,200-meter repeats, fast as hell. And the girls looked at each other, and one of our captains suggested, let's do 1,200s. And I said, yeah, you sure? Like, we bombed pretty good. He said, no, let's do it. And I said, okay. And they were scared of the workout in the beginning. They finished up, and they were great. We went to our home meet. Yeah, we finished, I think, 8th or 9th. And we had all 9 girls that ran were under 23. We had all 9 girls PR'd. We went to the conference meet, and we probably shouldn't have finished last. And we finished 6th. And we had, again, all 8 girls that ran, all PR'd. And so how we did that, I didn't do anything. 100% didn't do anything. That was all the girls. And they flipped the switch and changed the culture. And that's one of the worst things that I know right now is that I watched us rock indoors. We were doing stuff. Things were rocking and rolling indoors. We ran really well. We scored in the 8th mile. We didn't score in the 3 and the 5, but we had girls in the finals of both. We were 3rd in the DMR, but we had PRs left and right up and down the board. And it was a great indoor season because those girls took ownership of what was going on. A lot of things. That's why at Iowa we were good. That wasn't we did. Wiz is a phenomenal coach, phenomenal gentleman. I got to take that. He is one of the most underrated gentlemen I've ever seen in my life. But he allowed you to be. And he gave you the tools to be good. You just as a team had to do it. And we had 6 guys back then that we're not going to be denied. The girls this year, we're not going to be denied, running well indoors. And what stunk is we did a time trial the morning that we told, about 7 o'clock in the morning, I changed the workout in March when, NCAA is going on. And started programs were pulling out left and right, Harvard being one, Michigan being the other. I don't know if Michigan did, but a lot of schools started dropping out. And we did a time trial that morning, a simulated time trial. And of the 14 girls that ran, injured or not, everybody ran, 8 of them would have PR. And we were just on fire. You know, I knew we were going to have a hell of an outdoor season, but the girls had bought into the culture expectations. And it's just a thing. We just don't put up with anything. If you want to be late, that's fine. Go ahead and leave. If you want to show up and not give your all, that's fine. Go ahead, show up and leave. Like, if you want to pout at practice, if you want to do something at practice, I'll say about 4 or 5 words to you, but then that's going to be about it. And then we'll bring you in the office and say, you got to change this quickly. And the nice thing about the captains is they've done a tremendous job helping us form the culture of how we want this to go about on the cross-country side of things and what kind of people we're supposed to be. We haven't had the greatest of leadership the last few years. Even when I got here, we haven't had the greatest of leadership on the cross-country distance side, and that cannot help, you know, Coach Kurt Thomas and his track and field. That doesn't help them at all. That doesn't help us because we are an integral part of it, being essentially 1/3 of that whole program. If we are rock and rolling, forget it. We're not going to be.
Well, I like the examples of leadership that you displayed there, Matt, when you talk about you gave the kids, you said to the kids, hey, if you want to question me, like that door is open. You can question, we'll have a coach to athlete discussion about it. And I think a lot of coaches out there say that to their athletes. I do wonder how many coaches actually follow through with that. So I love that leadership of like, okay, you know what? I gave you permission to ask, to question some things. So let's hear it out and let's have this conversation. And then the leadership skills that you showed in after talking to the sports psychologist when the team came back out and they pitched the idea of running 1,200 meter repeats. You know, it's sometimes a coach I've noticed tries to do too much control over the team. You have to be in charge and you have to be a leader, but who actually owns the team? Well, in the good teams that I've been around, the athletes actually own the team. They have ownership of the team. So you allowed them to, they gave you the idea of having 1,200 meter repeats. You could have easily, and no one would have balked, you could have put your foot down and said, nope, my workout says mile repeats or whatever, you know, you would have done for the day. But instead you said, you know what? Okay, that's your idea. That works within my general coaching philosophy for the season. This is your team. You have ownership. Let's do it. I think those are just great examples of leadership and what really the definition of coach is. A coach is not barking out orders, yelling and cussing, those kind of things. It is an amalgamation of a lot of things. And one huge part is that leadership. So I just wanted to highlight those two real leadership skills that I heard you say there. Talking about cross-country teams, I wanted to ask you about, in today's world, we're getting some of the programs, we're talking a lot about budgets and things like that and how it fits when you're cutting programs or adding programs with around Title IX. I hear a lot of times with cross-country distance coaches that's where that's the, I'm doing air quotes, easy place to increase the women's participation is on the cross-country side. And they sometimes I'll hear administrators say, well, it's easy to go to 20, 30, 40 kids on the cross-country team. Maybe talk to us about what's it like to coach 34. Like, can you imagine that? Is it easy? You know, I was a sprints jumps guy. To me, it's like, oh yeah, it's easy. They're just, you know, you just do Iowa runs all the time is what I think a distance coach does, right? I'm now going to get so much emails from distance coaches and deservedly so. I get it.
We are not boycotting the podcast. Screw that.
That's it. What is kind of the ideal for you roster size, and what would it look like to have double and triple that? Is it as easy as maybe some administrators think?
No, it's not as easy as administrators think. And unfortunately, I'll be blunt about this. Cross country is that sport that because we're idiots to ourselves, or asses to ourselves, we just don't allow ourselves to be administrators to understand our sport. And we don't educate our administrators enough. And we need to educate our administrators enough and more on our sport. We're worried that if we educate our administrators more on our sport, then they're going to cut things. Okay? How many other sports have cut things? How many other sports have educated their administrators and actually get more for what they're doing? Okay? Administrators aren't going to cut sports because they know more. They may, at the beginning, allow you not to do some stuff, but then if you can prove that you can do things, you're going to be okay. And so when again, cross-country coaches, we are our own worst enemy because we are unbelievably smart people. We know physiology, we know psychology. We have to deal with being actually a psychologist, a physiologist, an athletic trainer many, many times. With respect to ATs, we had a great one last year. We have to do about 5-6 jobs that no other sport has to do. You travel with baseball, you travel with soccer, you travel with football, you travel with, anything else, hockey. They've all got athletic trainers traveling with them. They've all got people traveling with them. We don't as cross country. We're still driving the buses. We're not event buses. We're still driving the vans to meets. We're still doing that kind of stuff. So we do a lot. And again, that's not on your question. I apologize. When it comes to women's cross country, having 18 women is about, I think most of us would say, is about the max that we can really want to be effective. And it's not to be effective. We could easily coach 30 women, 40 women, because we're just coaching. At Bradley University, we had 35 women on the roster, okay? And we had 22 men, if I'm not mistaken. Due to Title IX, we had to be X, Y, and Z. So we did. And we had a couple girls on that Bradley roster that shouldn't be on the roster, but it happens, okay? But we had three full-time coaches for track and field that were all distance coaches. I've got one coach for 18 athletes. Essentially, I've got, 54? As the cross country, indoors, outdoors, yeah, 54 athletes for me. And give them the attention that they need from a one-on-one basis to answer the questions, to make sure in case the family member's in the hospital or they have to go to the hospital with vertigo, or we've had that happen before, or, one girl's got sticky sheet and I got to be there because they're 17 hours from home. 16 to 18 is about that ideal number. And I feel as if, we need to, I think a lot of programs that go with 30 or 40 women, University of Minnesota being one of them, they've got a volunteer coach or two volunteer coaches to help out, but you have to deal with those top girls. And unfortunately, I try and give, whether it be my number 1 or my number 18, the exact same attention. I have to give them the exact same attention that we're doing, because I do understand that, as well as my number 1 might be my number 1, might become an All-American, a conference champion. If my number 17 or 16 might not be the happiest, or they're happy, maybe they become that doctor 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. I can reach into them and ask for some money. I say, hey, we're building a new track, like we just did. And, we could use a couple $1,000s for equipment. We could use a couple $1,000s for barriers. We could do all that kind of stuff where we get a few things. Maybe we don't. Maybe they never do. But at the same time, they're also bought in because they're very happy. Their parents are happy. They're going to spread goodwill. And then we get a person on the team. Maybe it's from their same high school, and all of a sudden, oh, hey, you had great success with that person, even though you didn't have great success, but they love their time. Perfect. But, it is – the other thing is, you've got 18 girls, there's a good chance you've got 3 to 4 groups. I remember we don't have group names, but I remember at Iowa we had the black, gold, the black, gold, and hawk groups. Black group was what the group you wanted to be in. Those are the badasses. Yeah, that was your top 8. Those are traveling to pre-nats. We were flying to Orono, Maine for the Murray Keating. We were doing,
okay, so I got to ask, what group were you in?
I was always in the black. I was
okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure. All right.
Yeah. No, when I came back from, I remember coming back from that fracture. I was in this hawk group, and I was livid. I was in the hawk group because I could still run. He's like, no, hold up, just wait. But you had the black, gold, hawk, and again, essentially, if you want to call it here, we have 3 or 4 different groups. You've got that top group. How I've done it now is not groups like that, and I think coach training has evolved so much. And talking with people, we've got the 5K, 10K types. They train a little differently in cross country. And then we've got the 1,500, we've got the 800, 1,500, maybe 3K types. They're trained a little different in cross country. Then you've got some kids who are developmental or just pure 4, 800 kids. Okay, they're going to train differently in cross. And then you have your injured crew coming back. So you pretty much, even though we have 18, we'll have 17 in the fall, 18 for cross. Not for cross, for indoors, for track on the distance side for the next few years. We have 4 different groups being trained. So that's 18 different personalities. It's 18 different things a mile. That's a lot of different things along those lines. Like, there's a lot to go on with all that kind of stuff. So you have to be individual, but you have to have an open door, and you have to encourage it. And you will go back to culture for a second real quick, if I may. One of the biggest things I heard from a couple freshmen or sophomores say, they're not sophomores, they were freshmen, but they've actually talked to some of the freshmen saying, hey, the freshmen said, hey, I'm a little scared to talk to coach. And you would be. First time, big program, all that kind of stuff. It's very natural. If your freshmen aren't scared just because it's a new step, I'd be amazed. Like, actually, then you've got something really special there. But they called, one of them called up and said, hey, so-and-so has an issue, is worried about grooming and this, and this. What are you going to do? Are you going to help out with this kind of stuff? And boom, it's perfect. So they've already bought in, and they know how to address things with me already, which freshmen are already being taught how to address things already. So it doesn't matter that one of these girls isn't our top girl, but she already has ownership of the program that she knows how to do, and she is all for, making a phone call to coach and saying, hey, how would you like to handle this? Like, girls telling me that, let's go. Bring the fall on. Let's go right now.
Yeah, you brought up a great point about the different groups. I forgot about, I think of cross country as one event because they run the same distance. However, inside of that group, you have those 10K people for the track, the 3K, the mile, that half milers. Those are all would be trained differently than, say, on the track where you got just your 5K, 10K people together or whatnot. Those are good points. Well, so talk to us about as we start getting into summer and we're going to start being allowed to have athletes back on campus. Hooray. We're going to start getting that going. I feel everything seems like we're going to have fall sports, which we're all rooting for, and that includes cross country. Talk to us about what's got you excited for this upcoming season for cross country at UAB.
I think some of the biggest things, sorry, I've got a fully, last year I had a full team. Was all mine. When I say full team, I mean all my recruits. This year, I have a full bought-in team, top to bottom, left and right. Don't have to worry about anything else. I don't have anybody else that's going to know. I don't have to worry about anybody else. I'm not even worried about football. I'm not worried about our leadership. I'm not worried about anything along those lines. I'm focused on training. I'm focused on recruiting. Focused on that stuff. Yes, the rules are going to be different. All that kind of stuff is going to be odd. But what has me excited, I think we have a team that has a chance to try. If you know me for a sec, I will not shy away from how good I think we can be. And I know the girls believe it too. And Conference USA is top 2. And so that's a bold statement because there's some very good teams. Rice, Middle Tennessee, Charlotte's very good. Southern Miss is good. Rice to me is the gold standard in Conference USA. Coach Babins is one of the greatest, not only John, but the smartest people I've ever met. And John Warren too, I got to give him credit. But so those guys are incredible coming over. But we get to host this year for the first time since 1994.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, last time we hosted, a little history for you. Conference USA was hosting here in 94, 96. I might be wrong on the year. That was the last time UAB hosted the conference championship at George Ward Park, which now if you went to the park, you wouldn't even notice it because there's baseball diamonds, there's a softball diamond, there's a dog park, there's a parking lot, and there's a Frisbee golf course. So, in talking with the other coaches that have been here before, that's where they hosted the meet. But we're going to host for the first time ever. The girls are pumped. They're excited, and especially a couple of girls that have been a 4th year or 5th year. We've got a couple of those girls that know the program. Luckily enough, one of our seniors, our 4th year senior, her sister ran for us. She understands what we want to do. She understands what we need to do. And to finally to do something very, very special. So that has me excited. The freshmen coming in are excited. It's a fun-ass group of women. Oh, my goodness. I'm excited for that stuff. There's going to be a lot of challenges. There's no questions about that from our budgetary standpoints and things. I don't know what our budget is. I know we want to do stuff to help the university, help UAB out. There's no questions about that. But at the same time, we'll have a schedule that is going to set us up for a conference championship, set us to put the best foot forward when it comes to that day. And that's really what we need to do. And I know our mindset's going to be there so that we'll be okay. Our girls are excited. Go ahead.
How do you bridge? You had a breakthrough coming through with the sports psychologist, and then the time trial that you did when the bottom fell out and everything was canceled. How do you bridge from that time frame where things were really ramping up to this break that you've had now away from them from training? How do you bridge that together once you get the kids back?
We've done Zoom calls every 2 weeks so far. It was once a week when the season was going on and when we hit outdoor season, all the way to the end of outdoors. We did Zoom calls and we didn't stop training. One of the fun things we actually did, I take this, why am I drawing a blank on his name now? Either way, a gentleman over in the UK, we took this from, and my girls here, that's what coach came up with this. But we did 2 12-minute time trials, a little bit of a competition amongst the team. So let's go. You know what? Let's go. Let's get a time trial. Let's see what happens. Let's have it and have at it. And we did a competition amongst the girls. And then the second time, we did another 12-minute time trial. We did about a month apart. And so the girls had some competition, had something to train for. We gave them extra few days off. No, we didn't. I'm lying. We gave them 1 extra day off. And then we took it off from there. So that gave them some competition and something to focus on. And then we started back early. a little earlier than normal, about 2 weeks. We're just being careful on our training right now, but we'll have Zoom calls every couple of weeks. We've been very fortunate and blessed to have U.S. champ, and American record holder Eric Sawinski was on with our girls, talking about what he's doing for training-wise. We had Dr. Coach Short, actually he's a doctor, but I think the way he teaches, Brian Fetzer was on as well. He was lucky enough to talk to our girls, blessed enough to have him and his insights to give his perspective on what he's doing, and also validates what we're doing. And we have a couple more in the works that I'm not going to talk about, because if the girls listen to it, they're going to hear it. And I don't do that. But we have a couple more, so just trying to keep them excited about what's going on and making sure everybody's doing well. I think the biggest thing, the one word the girls are using a lot is just being consistent and routine. There's 2 words. Consistent and routine is 2 things that the girls have been looking for. And I've been told, or we're not told, but what I can tell in these calls is that they're reaching out to each other a lot. They're really relying on each other a lot. I try and check in with everybody on a once-a-week basis, if not from a meeting. We'll meet every 2 weeks, and some will probably meet a little less than that because that's the rules. But they are meeting, and they're not meeting, but they are talking to each other. We've got, for the first time ever, I think we've got 6 girls here in Birmingham, which says the girls are bought in. If you know anything about programs, whether you be down in Troy, whether it be anywhere else, when kids start to live here and stay here, that's when you see programs change, because that's when they are bought into the school, bought into the coach, bought into the program, exactly what they're going in and doing. So that kind of stuff has been a huge help for the girls. They've asked a couple questions about, what's your schedule going to look like, and what sports are getting cut and what's going on. And we're not cutting sports at UAB. We're not doing that stuff. They just want to kind of know. They're antsy as I am, and it's like, as soon as I know something, I'll let you know. But they're doing a good job being excited about what's going on. And I think the biggest driving factor for them versus any other school right now, we host conference indoor championships with track. We're blessed to host that with cross-plex in the backyard. We host it every single year. But we have cross-country for the first time, again, in almost, 96, however many years that is. I'm not going to do the math right now. And I can't do math. Iowa didn't teach me that. But at the same time, it's a long time since we have hosted a conference championship, and they are focused because they know that I'm excited about it, but they know that this is their one chance to go out and go, boom, this is what we got. And so my biggest job this summer and this fall isn't going to be to get them excited. It's just going to be to pull the reins back, to make sure that we're fit coming into the fall, that we're a step ahead this fall when we hit that first meet at Memphis. And if we're a step ahead coming to Memphis, dude, all we just got to do is get in the line in October on Halloween. We will be 100% set, but we have to take our time to make sure that we are fit and ready to go.
I love the routine and consistency for the many good distance programs and cross country programs I've been around. Boy, that would be the 2 words that I think their coaches would say how they're training. It's routine and it's consistent to be an excellent distance runner. And I love having Sawinski and those guys talk to your team. We've been talking a lot through the NCAA. We were on a conference call this afternoon with the Coaches Collab on Facebook, and the term student athlete experience kept coming up over and over. And I'll tell you what kid wouldn't have that would be a positive towards their student athlete experience, being on a conference call with someone like Eric Sawinski to talk about his experiences and the teams he's made and the great experiences he's had as a professional track runner. So that's so cool. I love that. We've been talking about the future for UAB, which seems pretty bright. Let's take a step back and go a little bit in the past as we start to wrap up here. About a year ago now, maybe less, you guys were you built a whole new track facility there on campus.
Yeah, apparently we did. Apparently our administration decided that a square uphill track was a dumbass idea.
Yeah, first of all, I know you just kind of described it, but talk about what you had before this new facility. Square is the correct term, by the way.
It's so comical, and people are going to be like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, no, we had 90-degree turns on each one of our corners. Football was in the middle of it, and we actually, believe it or not, this was built on an old dentist. The old football building was an old dentist office. So believe it or not, and I was like, you've got to be kidding. So when I arrived on campus, we did not have we did not have a track. We had a square uphill track.
Square uphill. And so, I think 3 lanes? Four? Yeah,
I think we were 4.
not like some big, okay, you can spread out and do groups. You basically had a square path.
And I got to give credit here real quick, especially if you're going to have a square uphill track. The fact that Kurt Thomas still had the vision to try and have a track and field team that could compete top to bottom. Dude, I don't know what he – my goodness. That is a recipe to say we're going to go all sprints. We're going to go all distances. We're not even go all throws. We did not have throws. And until last year, we didn't have a solid throws group. We had a couple girls. Let's give them credit. But they transferred out. They didn't fit the team. And now our new throws multi-is extraordinary coach Jordan Andreessen, unbelievable coach and unbelievable person. She's done a great job already getting some throwers in. Watch out this year. Oh my goodness. But yeah, no. So we had a square uphill track, and from where we started to the 200-meter mark was uphill, and then down to the other way was all downhill. And so the one thing the sprinters could always say is, never did this on purpose, we could close like a banshee because we always knew how to run downhill. And I was like, oh my goodness. And so, yeah, we do this. That's not good. Battery's dead. So we had that kind of stuff, which, we did. So UAB was blessed enough. Mark Ingram came in and said, hey, you know what? We need a new facility, and this is not safe for anybody in general. And this is not smart. And so he made a little bit of a joke of it, a little more than we like it to, but at the same time, the one thing that we started this time is come in and said every single program here will get an upgrade. Baseball's got a new field and a new outfield. Softball's gotten about $1 million upgrade to their facility. Soccer has one of the best soccer stadiums you're going to find in the country. Actually, it's one of the best. It is one of the best in the country, seats 6,000. Our brand new, those guys have all gotten upgrades. He has definitely done a great job taking care of the sports, and everything he said he's going to do, he has done, which has been incredible. And one of the biggest things he said he was going to do was actually get a track on campus, and he has never done that. And a big thanks to Gil for helping out with that. No questions about it. We have one of the most beautiful facilities in the country. It was named Facility of the Year, I believe, last year by a couple different publications, which we are ecstatic about. But it's a green and gold track, green lanes, gold exchange zones. I got my gold steeplechase pit finally. I've been begging for that for life. And yes, we share it with the soccer practice field, but at the same time, we do a beautiful job with that facility. The one bummer was that we were going to host the first ever meet, high school meet and college meets on campus this year in March. And then, of course, a week before, 2 weeks before, about 10 days before, we have to pull everything because COVID-19.
Oh, man.
Yep. So we have full plans to actually be able to those meets are going to come back next year. There's no question. And actually, Coach Thomas and I have been talking about how do we make these meets actually next year even better? And do we host 2 or 3 of them instead? Because we understand that some of the teams at Troy, at Sanford, even some of the Tennessee Tech teams, or Tennessee Tech or Tennessee teams, need a place to come visit. And you come work. And so, you know what? Let's have a meet. Let's help everybody save budgets.
Well, and I don't know that you're going to find many track facilities of this caliber. The way I love the design that you guys came up with the pole vault and long jump, triple jump out on the outside. The steeple area, like you mentioned, is just amazing. I love the alternating lanes. They did a great job there.
One of the coolest things we have, so having those gold exchange zones, having the steeple pitting gold is awesome. One of the cool things people don't know about, because we haven't used it yet, is our weight throw. Yes, distance guys talking about weight throwers. I love it.
Yeah, wait a minute. Hold on.
At Iowa, our throwers, Andy Bance, Brad Dahlfelt, Ken Kemeny, Shane Meyer, Bill Newman, those guys are some of my favorite people I've ever met. But the weight throw out there in that area is, because, and honestly, the Gill cage out there, I would put that damn cage up against everybody from Alabama and Iowa. It's everything in between. That place is gorgeous. And my goodness, people are going to throw really far. I hope we hit the ROTC building that's out there. It is going to be a lot of fun. I am excited for that thing. No questions about that.
And so we're going to have home track meets in March?
We're looking at, I can't say March, but I'm thinking it might be, if it's not March, it might be a couple in April. Our high school meet is definitely going to happen in the middle of March. We've already talked to coaches, Mountain Brook High School, Coach Lars Porter, and Coach Michael McGovern. I've already pledged their support, so they're going to be helping us put that meet on. So, yeah, we already have meets lined up for it. It's just a matter of what dates now and what makes sense from a budgetary standpoint. But the high school meet, that's already set. And the worst thing about it is we had 11 schools already committed for the meet. It was the best over-the-mountain meets we've ever had, and the state probably will ever see.
Well, the city of Birmingham definitely has some amazing track facilities.
Yes.
You mentioned Mountain Brook and Hoover and those guys. I mean, just I'm sure I'm missing a couple of some great track facilities. So it's awesome to see on the collegiate side a really, boy, world-class facility right there in Birmingham. It's such a great history of track and field in that area that it was overdue. Certainly not only because of what you did have, but just for the sport and for the area, certainly was overdue. So I'm so happy for you guys to have such a great facility.
Absolutely appreciate that. And you guys are a huge help with that thing. That's not to be the biggest public or press, but you guys were a huge help, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous place. I can't wait to get that thing rocking and rolling. That's gonna be fun. Cross country, having cross country in the fall, having indoors here in the winter, and then we turn around, we get to host. I'll be honest with you, I'll put us up against anybody else right now in the country. This is just a blessing. This is going to be a hell of a blessing this year to we have.
What a great year upcoming after such a bad year. We need more good news coming up in the fall of 20 and spring of 21 because of the just devastating bad news we had in March and through the rest of this season. We're all supposed to be at first rounds in our national championships right now. So I can't wait to celebrate. We've already started talking internally about just how do we everybody's going to be so pent up and ready to coach and the athletes to compete. We just are just so stoked to just celebrate with everybody and have just an amazing 2021 track season, and of course before that becomes 2020 cross country season. So it starts with you guys. You guys got to kick us off well in the fall.
That's our goal. That's our hope. Let's kick it off and let's do it right.
That's it.
We don't like doing things half-assed. We're going to go all in and let's go.
That's it, man. I'm stoked you guys are hosting too. That is always special. So that's really cool. Matt, thank you so much for visiting with us today. You've had a rich history of your competition from high school building programs there to University of Iowa and building up what a great program you guys built up there, and they continue to do some really amazing things today. And then just your work at UAB. I know you guys really well with your head coach and Jordan as well. I know you guys just continue to fight hard for our sport and fight hard for your programs there at UAB. So really pumped for a great upcoming year with you guys.
No, and I appreciate you taking the time to put me on with, as I said earlier in the beginning, some of the most honored and some of the most brilliant people, and whether it be coaches or athletes. It's been awesome to be able to hear what you're doing for the sport. I think this is one of the best things that can be done for the sport, and the more we know, the better we can be.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for being with us today, man. Look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks, Mike.